Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Friday night Q&A, the 15th of October, 2021. I'll be dealing with Jasher, chapter 48 and 49. Ask everybody to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification button. Okay, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to everyone to another Sabbath. We're going to do our moment of silence, prayer, songs, and then we do current events and a little Q&A, and then go into our lesson. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and Yahweh and all that they're doing to bring about our deliverance. O Lord, we come this day praising thee and worshiping thee for thy might and power and thy great understanding. O Lord, the end times that you have foretold unto our forefathers are upon us. O Lord, give us strength and wisdom to endure all that thou hast foretold. And thank you for another Sabbath. Give us, O Lord, the knowledge to rightly divide thy word, that we are delivered in righteousness and in truth. There is great confusion among your inheritance at this time, O Lord, now that you have awakened them. For I know, O Lord, that your hand is sure, that your hand is firm. O Lord, we need you so very much in these latter days, and we will tarry and depend upon you, O Lord, because there's none else besides you, O Lord. You are our deliverer and our redeemer. Peace be unto you. Okay. We're going to do a psalm. Okay. I'm going to do Psalms 88. It's a cry for deliverance from death. Okay, it says, O Lord, God of my salvation, I have cried day and night before thee. Let my prayer come before thee. Incline thine ear unto my cry. For my soul is full of troubles, and my life draweth nigh unto the grave. I am counted with them that go down into the pit. I am as a man that have no strength, free among the dead, like the slain that lie in his grave, whom thou rememberest no more, and they are cut off from thy hand. Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, in darkness, in the depths. Thy wrath lieth hard upon me, and thou hast afflicted me with all thy waves. Selah, thou hast put away mine acquaintance far from me. Thou hast made me an abomination unto them. I am shut up, and I cannot come forth. Mine eye mourneth by reason of the affliction. Lord, I have called daily upon thee. I have stretched out my hands unto thee. Wilt thou show wonders to the dead? Shall the dead arise and praise thee? Selah, shall thy loving kindness be declared in the grave, or thy faithfulness in destruction? Shall thy wonders be known in the dark, and thy righteousness in the land of the forgetfulness? But unto thee have I cried, O Lord, and in the morning shall my prayer prevent thee. Lord, why castest thou off my soul? Why hidest thou thy face from me? I am afflicted and ready to die from my youth up. While I suffered thy terrors, I was distracted. Thy fierce wrath goeth over me. The terrors have cut me off. They come round about me daily like water. They compass me about together. Lover and friend as thou put far from me, and my acquaintance into darkness. That's Psalms 88. It's a cry for deliverance from death. Any comments?
It was a verse I had made me abomination to my. Can you break that down?
What verse there?
I ain't got my Bible on me right now.
Oh, okay. Okay,
It,
let me see.
uh,
Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. 8. It says, "Thou hast put away mine acquaintance far from me. Thou hast made me an abomination unto them. I am shut up, and I cannot come forth." So it's the same way. Like remember what he did to I think it was Ezekiel. Remember he put Ezekiel told Ezekiel to go into his house,
right.
stay there, and then he told him when you and then he says they was going into captivity, stay there in your house, shut up,
Uh-huh.
nobody. And then he said, after for a certain amount of days, then he said, come out and let the people see you.
Okay.
Right. And so he calls the people. I mean, I can relate to this because it's the same thing happened to me. So he
Uh-huh.
said, calls nobody. It's as if you're a dead man. Nobody recognize
Okay.
you. You know.
He working on you.
Yeah. Right. He didn't cut you off.
Okay. All right.
That's what the same thing David said about the cut him off from the land of the living.
Uh-huh.
Right. Anybody else got anything on that? Okay. That was Psalms, like I said, Psalms 88 is a cry for deliverance from death. Okay. Anybody got any current events? Okay. Yeah, this is kind of. I had to take a couple steps back when I saw this one. Uh, check it out. It says, can you see that? It
Yes.
says this. Okay, hold up. It says this state just found a new COVID-19 variant, right? Okay, it says the EVT viral genomics and sequencing lab at Louisiana State University. And there's Louisiana State University helps in Shreveport detect a new COVID-19 variant last week. And there's some in Louisiana. The variant called B1.630 was found in 2 samples collected in Baton Rouge. The variant reportedly has the E484Q mutation, which means it could escape the immune system and cause infections. Okay, Jeremy Camille, an associate professor of microbiology and immunology at LSU Health in Shreveport, told uh, New Orleans, Louisiana.com that the variant isn't an immediate health threat. This is mostly academic curiosity, he said. Okay. There's some, it's kind of crazy. Okay. I don't know if nobody heard about this, but it's getting, can you see that? It
Yes.
says salmonella outbreak with everything else going on. Salmonella outbreak with unknown food source has spread to 36 states. The U.S. Salmonella outbreak that began in the recent months has now expanded to 36 states and affected nearly 600 people, according to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. With this song, at this point, the agency said that the cause of the outbreak is an unknown food source and said no food items have been recalled in connection with it. As of Thursday, the CDC said 592 people have fallen ill and 116 people have been hospitalized with a salmonella infection. The agency noted that the actual number of sick people in an outbreak is likely much higher than the number reported, and the outbreak may be limited to the states with the known illnesses. Is this something?
Get away from one thing, another thing
Oh,
gets
yeah.
you.
Ain't that what he said?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. That's crazy.
I kind of think about it. They keep saying all these, these whatever we want to call them, the shots. They're affecting people's immune system. So things that possibly wouldn't have affected them a certain way could be.
Right.
It may not be an outbreak. It may just be weakening the immune systems. As they're saying that it's decreasing white blood cells. So you never know.
Right.
Some people probably get salmonella and doesn't affect them, but if your immune system is weak, but all these people could just be, since they don't know the food source, which is strange.
Right. Yeah, that is strange.
Anyway,
By now, they should be detected that. Yeah, that's something. That's something. Okay, here we go.
The labor market has me thinking about one of the classic viral videos of a previous internet era. In the middle of September in 2011, as Barack Obama and a Republican Congress were debating just how much spending should be slashed so we could, quote, tighten our belts, a small group of people, and then a much larger group of people, took over Zuccotti Park in New York City, launching Occupy Wall Street. A few weeks later, a kid named Joey showed up at his job in a hotel in Providence to send a message. And so that his bosses were able to hear it loud and clear, he brought his entire band with him. My favorite part is the bit at the end of this video here where somebody changes to 0 the number of days since there'd been a lost time accident. Here's Joey 10 years ago to the day.
Got 4 million people to quit their jobs today.
Guys, what is this? Guys, all of you out right now.
Jared, I'm here to tell you that I'm quitting.
Okay.
$20 million per day. That's how much of your tax. Year mark of that hilarious stunt. But because this month, more than 4 million workers across the country became Joeys. The month that Joey quit his job, just 1.5% of workers did the same. That quit rate is what bosses call churn, and some amount of quitting and switching jobs is normal, even in the midst of the Great Recession. But in August, the number was nearly double that, with almost 3% of workers, 4.3 million of them, leaving their jobs. Restaurants, bars, and hotels have always seen more turnover than in other jobs, hovering normally at around 4%. In August, the numbers were literally off the charts at 6.8%. That means roughly 1 out of every 15 workers in restaurants, bars, and hotels quit in August. The next highest turnover came in retail, which also isn't surprising, but the numbers were up everywhere: healthcare, manufacturing, white-collar jobs, you name it. At the beginning of the pandemic, 1 million workers were being laid off every single day, and we haven't yet gotten to the unemployment rate that we had in March 2020. In September, The Bureau of Labor Statistics found 7.7 million people unemployed, but there's another 6 million that they define as people who want a job but don't count as part of the labor force because they haven't looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. On top of that, there was another 1.7 million they call marginally attached to the labor force. Having 4.3 million people quit in August threatens to amplify a vicious cycle that's already punishing workers on the job. When businesses are short-staffed, that means the workers who are still there have to pick up the slack. It also means customers are seeing worse service, which takes customer behavior from its customary level of absolutely hellish and ramps it up to worst people on earth status. Add into the mix that people are pissed off because of the pandemic, and pissed off they're being asked to wear a mask, and pissed off if they see a sign that they should wear a mask if they're not vaccinated, because, hey, this is a free country and it's their God-given right to whip out an iPhone and in the name of freedom, film and berate the worker who's not being paid enough to put up with this.
Okay. Any comment? Okay. Yeah, like you said, it's like 4.3 million people quit their jobs just in the end of this month. You see, it was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you see, it was double that last month. So it ain't looking good. Okay. Yeah, we was talking about this last night, so I'm kind of going back around to it again because I didn't think we kind of went into it good enough, long enough. But it's about the jab. Let's see how we do this. Okay.
Redwood's a potent blend of
2 times or whatever, and their eyes serpentine. Yes, it's going to be overwhelming, but I'm not going to be afraid of that because
So what's going on is this lady is saying that it's a 9-month incubation period for the jab, like same time period there for to have a baby, and then after those 9 months, you're gonna start seeing some crazy stuff. So I'm gonna just play.
they know that the Holy Ghost inside of me is greater than that ET that's in them. So why should I
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
be afraid? You might say, "Oh, Sister Karen, how do I handle these people?" Lift up a standard in your heart. You can say to them, "Look," you can tell them, you can say, "Look, your eyes have just literally changed into a serpent." They're not going to really believe because they haven't seen it, but God is going to reveal it to them. It's up to these people who want to begin to pray or whatever. It's up to them. But I know some of them will change. Some of them won't, and some of them will. However, my sisters, so be bold, be strong, be courageous, walk with Yah. Just like Enoch, all praises, all beautiful praises to the Most High Yah, who lives above the heavens. Yah, eternally bless you and love you all, and I will see you soon, someday in glory, with Jesus Christ, precious holy name. Amen. Let us say the benediction together. Body to become host to house the fallen ones. Because you see, the fallen ones cannot come into a clean temple. You've got to understand that no demonic entity can enter a clean temple. So you have to be faulty. Yeah? You have to be faulty for demonic possession to overtake you. Whether that is through drugs, whether that is through watching movies, whether that is through eating, whatever wickedness it may be, but you've got to be faulty. Because there's no way on this planet that a demonic, that a satanic entity, fallen one, can ever come into a clean vessel. They won't. So that person has to be faulty. And so, like, those who are drinking the soup, aka the ET, we know that there's literally an ET in the pudding. So already the faultiness have begun. So they're creating this housing for the fallen ones. So the Lord said they are hosts. These people that have drunken the soup are literal host for the fallen ones, brothers and sisters. Because you've got to understand that fallen angels, they are not human. Fallen ones are not human. So whatever us human beings can do, they cannot do it. So the walking and the talking, yes, you might say, okay, well, Sister Carrie, and they can try.
Okay. So I was going to clarify that. So what she called them the fallen ones, we know that Enoch told us that these giants, when they died, the spirit stayed here. So that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong in the earth, looking for a body. These angelic beings, they got bodies. So these spirits of these giants need bodies, and her take on that is that when you take the jab, it's serpentine. It's serpentine DNA in it, and that's what we know that when Satan came down, these serpentine beings and he had serpentine beings that came down with him from the priesthood. So that's making sense to me anyway. But so, and also they say that the that R negative. When you start talking about, they talk about the Nephilim. I mean the what's that? Neanderthal. They call them, that's the term that he came up with. But we know that the Neanderthal ain't nothing but the giants that came from when the angel came down, slept with the woman. That's all it is. And they had R negative. That's where R negative came from. That's reptilian. So when you look at that, like I said, with the Most High, let's look at it right quick. Again, I'm gonna go on something else. I'm just trying to put something on your mind. We know it's the Israelites. We know a lot of mixing and intermingling and all that can happen with Israel. And so the Creator said in the latter days, in Isaiah, I'm gonna read it right quick. 44 says, "Yet hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jezreel, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, floods upon dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessings upon thy offspring." So, the Creator, like I said, it's a lot of people that say they're Israelites and they ain't Israelites, and there's a lot of them that don't know they're Israelites and they're Israelites. So the Most High pouring His Spirit out on everything, but the seed line gonna respond. These people doing the same thing. They're putting this out here, getting everybody to like she said, take the soup, and but it's only gonna affect the ones that's got the R negative, the ones that descended from that. They're trying to enhance them, and so in a way they're looking for descendants, and that's what that's gonna affect. Okay. Any comments? So that's all. If you want to check that out, excuse me, you want to check that out, you look at that was Sister Carrie Ann. Just go to her channel. Somebody had something?
I just gonna say that's deep. Man,
Oh yeah, right, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to talk too much about it on here, but like I
right.
say, check out that website. It's I think she said she got up to 100 and some videos on there.
Yeah,
So check it out.
seem like seems like Satan running out of time, and
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is.
he's doing all he can do, man. Yeah.
Right. He throwing everything, the kitchen sink and everything in there.
Yeah, everything. He going all out
Yeah,
this time.
he's
Yeah.
going all out. He's like, want this something? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna play this right here, and then we go down and open up as a Q&A. This is I was telling you about it. So it's a lot of Israelites leaving here. And they know who they are, and they know they might not know what a lot of things that we know on this line, but they out of here. They leaving. They ain't really talking about it. I'm gonna play some of it.
Yo, shalom, everybody. This is Dante Velvet reporting live from coronavirus capital of Babylon, Seattle, Washington, where the very first shutdowns happened. Yeah, I just want to be a buck with y'all. Let me break something down. I had the opportunity to go out to Ghana, West Africa, with Ron and a lot of other Hebrews, and it was definitely, if I could just be transparent, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. It was true. We were able to touch back with our roots. We were able to see our people and the love and the compassion that they had and the welcoming spirit that they had upon us. I tell you the truth, everywhere we went, they just kept saying Akwaba, which means welcome. And a lot of them, I probably heard it maybe 7 times. I don't even know. I lost count. So many times I heard it. Enough times, right? Enough times I heard it, where people would say, welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. That stuck with me. It resonated with me. I want to lay something out here, y'all. I realized something Ron had been talking about for a while, and I realized it to be true. My background is in hip-hop music as well as business, finance, and education. And not just hip-hop music. I did modeling, I did acting, and I've been a part of entertainment coordination for events and stuff like that. I did a Seattle Seahawks anthem that went viral called Better Seahawks Anthem. I've opened up for some big name gospel artists such as Kirk Franklin, Dorinda Clark Cole, Kim Burrell, JJ Hairston, and Youthful Praise, Lecrae. A lot of the truth, a lot of different stuff has happened in my life, and I'm grateful for it. When I was in Christianity, well, when I got out of that religion, a lot of stuff shifted because I left the religion, but I took the Bible with me, right? Anyhow, I don't want to get into all that right now, but something I realized, y'all, Ron said something that was very true, and I realized in order for us knowing history, because I'm in education, I teach Black male leadership, one thing I realized that is very true is if we are to be successful, if we are as a nation of people, now that you're awake, okay, or now that the truth is revealed to you, if we're going to be successful, if we're going to build that Black Wall Street again, like back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, then we are going to have to come together. All right. Think about it this way, just from the numbers. If you had 30 or 300 people, and every person gave $100 in 1 month, that would be $30,000, right? If 300 people gave $100 in 1 month, that would be $30,000. If 300 people said, hey, you know what? I'm going to consistently for the next 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. But let's just say that for the next 3 months, I'm going to consistently give $100, right? That's 30,000 plus 30,000 plus 30,000. That's $90,000. Okay. And if that money were applied on the continent of Africa, let's just say starting at Ghana, West Africa, the first place that opened the doors back, it used to be the door of no return. Now all of a sudden it's the door of the return. And you see a lot, if you're paying attention to any kind of news or even celebrity news, you're seeing a lot of celebrities, you're seeing a lot of African Americans, so-called African Americans, departing from Babylon and going there. And then you got a lot of our brothers and sisters who are going all over the continent in different places, right? I want to give you guys an ideal. Our US dollar stretches really far over there. And you want to build a Black Wall Street all over again? Why build it here to have it destroyed again? just like Rosewood, just like Tulsa, Oklahoma riots, just like the St. Louis riots, the riots, you know, Civil War, not Civil War, excuse me. Well, yeah, civil rights. You could call it a war, civil rights movement, you know, civil rights war. You see this stuff happening in history over and over and over again. If we don't learn from that, we're doomed to repeat that. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not interested in consistently repeating that. I want to see success for my people. I want to see us flourish. I want to see us do good, man. Don't you? So here's what I propose. 300 people or more, but we'll start. Let's just throw numbers out there. 300 of you commit to $100 for the next 3 months. That's October, November, December. Close out 2021 strong. What will it accomplish? There will be housing set up, transitional housing for the diaspora. There will be businesses that we could set up over on the continent. Whether you are interested in going there or not, you can help your people out. Help your people. Help your seed. Set it up so that your people could be blessed, right? I don't know about y'all, but I'm going back. And I'm going to work with Ron, and I'm going to see that this stuff is accomplished. I'm going to see that great things are happening, right? I'm applying all my skill and my ability. Like I said, I come from a background of education, entertainment, right, and business. I'm going to apply all that I have and my efforts to ensure that our people have a hope and a future. The scriptures say, I know the thought, this is Yahuwah saying it, I know the thoughts that I think towards you. These are his thoughts. In other words, he said, I know what I'm thinking. Don't try to correct me on what I'm thinking. I know what I'm thinking towards you. Thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you a hope and a future, an expected end. So since he knows his thoughts, let's go ahead and put our money where our mouth is. We want to say the scriptures. We want to believe it. All right, well, put your money where your mouth is. All right. Now, I could tell y'all to do that, but I tell you what. Pull this wallet out here. I tell you what. I'm going to be the first partaker. Ron, if you get this video, I'm the first partaker. Here, let me make sure that's a whole 100. Here's my 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Here's my 100. I'm putting that in. I'm invested. And I'm going to physically go back to ensure that we go, not to watch you, but to ensure that we have a hope and a freaking future. Let's go to work, man. Put in. Do I have 299 other brothers and sisters willing to go in with me? I'm putting up where my mouth is. My mouth is on it. All right, I'm putting up. Who's coming with me? Now let's go to work.
Shalom, y'all. Ron Dalton here. It's got to work. I just want to talk to you guys about something we have been starting since we left Ghana. We were in Ghana for about, I was there for about 25, 26 days. And, I went there to, of course, get some land that they were offering the diasporans, to see Ghana for the first time, see Africa for the first time, but to also to establish and acquire a home for my family to rent so that we can get off the airplane at the airport and actually have a place to go to and not have to stay in an Airbnb or a hotel for X number of days. Because the hotels, Airbnbs can get costly if you stay in there for a couple of days, 2 weeks to almost a month. And being the fact that I have a large family, when you have 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, 8 kids, you can't just all book a hotel with a queen bed and that's it. I mean, technically you can, the kids gonna sleep on the floor, but these kind of things we did in the old days, but we don't kind of like do these things now, even though we could. But a lot of these hotels have a capacity limit that they can actually have a certain number of people in a room. Even if there's 2 queen beds in a room, you can't squeeze in 8 to 9 people. They're gonna say you can't do that. If they find out, you might be in trouble. So that being said, you guys, we have to start thinking about these transition moves we're going to make if we're planning on leaving America and going to Africa. Now, there's people that have went to Rwanda and Tanzania and are renting houses for like $200 a month. And then some people are building houses for a couple $1,000s, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, and it's not costing a lot of money. We got to look at the fact that many people that are in America, in the Caribbean, they do want to leave. They do want to leave the place of their captivity where they were brought there as slaves, their ancestors. They're tired of their country. They're tired of the control. They're tired of the oppression, and they want to leave and go back to motherland, but they don't know how they're going to survive once they get on the airport. Now, a lot of people, may have the means to get an airplane ticket and a passport and get to Africa. But then what's next? What do you do after that? That's a big dilemma. Many people don't have $2,000 to $3,000 a month to pay to stay in some nice house in, let's say, for instance, Accra. You may be on a budget. You may have a business, and your business is bringing in X amount of dollars, but you need to be on a budget so that you don't run out of money. So we have a lot of questions, and we want the answers, but we're not putting in the work. Look at Jeremiah when they were building the wall of the Jerusalem, the second Jerusalem, or the city of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem had a wall. And we know that after the first temple was destroyed, that the Israelites came back under the Persian rule. And it says that the Israelites built the wall, and they did it pretty fast because they had the mind to work. They had the mind to work. They all was in the mindset of working, getting things done. And a lot of us in Israel, we don't have a mind to work. We got a mind to complain, but not a mind to work. So, we always complain about, people in Africa need to give us some money. They need to provide for us housing. They need to provide for us air conditioning and Wi-Fi, internet, water, all these things, for free. It's one thing to offer diasporans land at a very cheap price or even for free, but to then ask the people in Africa, the locals, the chiefs, the kings, the elders, the government, and we want this much land. We want a 4-bedroom house built on the land. We want septic. We want electricity. We want Wi-Fi. We want a potty tank. We want city water, whatever they want, whatever they say we want. That costs a lot of money, but we don't understand that at the end of the day, we have powers in numbers. Our power is in our unity that we really don't have right now. But we can harness the power of unity and use group economics to work for us. Like I say all the time, this is how the other nations come from other countries to America, and they survive. And then they end up thriving in a country where we seem to be oppressed and struggling for over 400 years. And we're looking at them like, how are they able to come over here, all come together and work together, and then in a minute they got businesses, they got new cars, they got new houses, they got multiple bank accounts with money in it, and they're becoming our bosses. They're becoming our bosses. So they don't care what we say because we ain't doing nothing. But when we were in Ghana, I saw firsthand how long it takes to try to find a property. It took me pretty much the whole time I was in Ghana for 25 days to find a property. So with that being said, a lot of us, when we get to Ghana, if we try to relocate to Ghana or any country in Africa, we need a place to stay. We need housing. I talk about transitional housing projects that I've been trying to do since the beginning of this year. But we have now made a lot of connections with realtors and locals that are in Accra, that are in Cape Coast, that are in Kumasi, that can get us some really good deals on housing where we can house people that maybe coming as a single man, single woman, a family of 4, widows, elderly. They want to be amongst the Hebrew community. They want to be around people that are Hebrews and diasporans. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we should be able to have that. We look at the Village of Peace in Dimona, Israel. You see that they went over there in 50, 60 years ago, and they developed their community. They all live amongst each other. And I'm sure they all put their money in together, the chips in together to make things happen. You know, they all had the same thing in common. We're going to survive in a foreign land that we've been separated from for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And they're doing it. So if they could do it, if Dimona Israelites could do it in Israel, we could do it in Africa. We don't have to be separate from everybody. You have your house in Timor, you have your house in Cantonese, you have your house in Pompom, you have your house in East Legon, you have your house in North Legon, you have your house in Ouija, you have your house, you know, in Kumasi, you have your house in Cape Coast. And we got to be more unified and community mindset than that. Now, I talked about the 300 H2M club that I started like a year or two ago. And I proposed to people, I said, look, if we have 300 people that all have the mind to work, that are all thinking on the same accord, they all have the same goals, they all want to see the same thing happen for Israel, then we have to look at it as this. If 100 people out of that, in that 300, well, let's say 300 people all donate $100. What is that? That's $30,000. It's 300 people are all in the same accord. They all think the same. They all want the same goal, the same mission. They all know what time it is. They're all trying to leave to go to Africa at different stages and different times. What do the people need when they get to Africa? They need community. To get community, you're going to have what? Housing. Even if you have 30 acres of land in Africa, when you get out the airport in Ghana and you say, hey, we got 30 acres of land, we got our indentures, we got our plot number. Okay, you got some raw land just sitting there. Where are you gonna live at? You gonna sleep on the grass? The grass is gonna be your bed, the tree's gonna be your roof. What are you gonna eat? You know, what are your kids gonna do? What are your wife gonna do? Is she ready to pitch a tent on your plot of land that you have intentions for? It just live like you're, you know, living like the Marines or the military. Just came to another country, you got to set up a fortress and a base. And so in the meantime, you're setting up tents. That's not how we should be doing it. Especially we have unification, because $30,000, one-time donation of $100 for 300 people, that can get you a lot of different transitional housing properties where people can actually have a place to stay. Now, you may not want to share an 8-bedroom house with somebody else, but at the end of the day, if we're looking at a mass dispersal or mass exodus or the great migration of Israelites out of America, as things get worse, you know, we're going to have to, you know, put aside some of our differences, put aside some of our things that we've been used to, and we're going to have to start to come together, even if it's just for a short time until we can get on our own feet and start making money and doing things in Africa. And this is just a one-time donation that 300 people, if they gave $100, that's $30,000. If you had 100 people that gave $1,000 one time, that's $100,000. It could take you 6 months to raise that $100,000. It still means that 100 people, if they can raise $1,000 in 6 months and put it all into a bank account, that's $100,000. You go to Ghana or Tanzania, Rwanda, or the Congo, or Uganda, or Cameroon with $100,000, and you got 100 people that say, like, we got $100,000, we need some housing for our people. They're gonna say, okay, what you need? You're gonna say, well, we need some places, you know, some cheap places to rent, maybe buy, depending on what's cheaper, what's more economically advantageous at the end of the day, and you figure it out. But back to the 300. So if 300 people give $100 one time, that's $30,000. If they do that consecutively every month. Every month, you know, most people get paid twice a month. That's basically $50 every 2 weeks. So $50 every 2 weeks, people have to put aside 300 people have to put aside $50 for 2 weeks. If 3 people put that aside, at the end of the month, they will have $30,000. They did it for another month, that's $60,000. If they did it for another month, that's $90,000. If you do the math, if you multiply 30,000 times 12, just a year, you will see how much money that is. And that's just off of 300 people. 300 people putting aside $50 every 2 weeks into a bank account, a group bank account, and then saying, okay, what we gonna get next? What we get next? What's the next project? Since you have the capital coming in because you're using group economics, then you can always stay winning.
And I said, so how did you make your money? He says, Patrick,
Okay. Any comments?
Hey, Lana,
Okay.
what y'all think, man? You got the Lord of Hosts way, and then you got men's like that, you know. who gonna be holding the money? I mean,
Right. Is there some?
yeah, they put a nigga up there like TD Snakes or something, man, be ready to take his head off.
Is there some?
I mean, you got the scriptures, then you got the cats. They want to leave America, but they trying to set it up their way.
Right. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
like the part about coming together. He said we ain't gonna come together until it's the time appointed for us to come together.
right. I believe that's when David gone.
Right.
You know? Because you can't trust. You can't trust.
Right. Yeah. Right. So my thing was showing that how it's a whole lot of people got on their mind to get out of here. That's where we at. Is that
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
That's good. That's in their spirit.
Right.
And you know that verse, I can't get it out of my spirit. Jeremiah 51:9. That
Right.
off that video you played, man.
Right.
To me, he gonna single out one nation, and it's gonna get so bad that everybody gonna be trying to leave this place.
Oh yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. We're gonna be trying to get out there like flies.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I was playing it about the little lady Carrie Ann, because it's gonna be some horrendous we got to get. When they pop off, we're gonna have to get up out of here. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a reverse border migration.
Exactly.
Right. Anybody else got any comments on that? Okay.
Um,
Go ahead.
real quick, I was just thinking about the division that's you know among the Israelites right now in this country. We can't
Right.
take that kind of stuff. Between the men and the women, it's really getting really bad everywhere I'm looking, and everything that comes up on my feed. And
Right.
I'm just thinking we can't um, be successful.
Right.
It's like it's at an all-time high right now. So
Right.
the Lord of Hosts is gonna have to do that because I don't even see an end in sight with it.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And that's like I was saying before. All the signs is there. It's like when it was time for them to leave out of Egypt. If you go back and look at it, when Moses came, the affliction increased. The affliction increased right before they left. Pharaoh made them start making brick without straw. So they ended up getting frustrated with Moses, but they didn't realize that time was time was almost up. And so when you look at it like that, you can see the same thing happening now. They coming with all this drama, but we at the end of this. We at the end of this captivity. It's coming to a head. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna open this up for Q&A, and then we'll go into the lesson. I want to see what this talking about right here with this. Ms. Jenkins says, Shalom, as an Israelite, who are we permitted to procreate with? Okay, so what that is, Most High tell us to don't let your sons marry their daughters, and don't let your daughters marry their sons. So the rule is that Israelites marry among themselves. That's what it's you know that's what he told us. That's what he told them, and that's what is being conveyed to us. Is that we marry amongst ourselves. He didn't want us marrying outside our nationalities. Matter of fact, it was where they really weren't even supposed to be marrying outside their tribes. They married within their tribe. But it was saying he made it a point to say that um, Israelite men marry Israelite women. Keep the seed, the holy seed, pure. Right. So, like I said, that's how it was originally set up. If you go back to, let me read something right quick. In Ezra, that's when they came back from Babylon. When Ezra got back, and just gonna read a little bit of it. It says, chapter 10 says, now when Ezra had prayed and when he had confessed, weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, there assembled unto him out of Israel a very great congregation of men and women and children, for the people wept very sore. And let me keep going. Right, and Shemaiah the son of Shechaniah the son of Jehiel, one of the sons of Elam, answered and said unto Ezra, we have trespassed against our God. We have taken strange wives of the people of the land, yet now there is hope in Israel concerning this thing. Now therefore let us make a covenant with our God and put away all the wives and such as are born of them according to the counsel of my Lord, and those that tremble at the commandments of our God, and let it be done according to the law. So the law, it says that you can't have no strange wives. I mean, strange wives is anybody outside of Israel. You got to be daughters of Israel, man, and vice versa.
Shalom.
Okay,
And Brother Leonard, it's usually a price to pay when you do cohabitate with them.
right, exactly. Yeah, we see that all through the scriptures. And I noticed in there he says uh, the men was confessing. So obviously, in that particular situation right there, the women wasn't in trespassing. The men was trespassing because he said that we are taking strange wives. So
Yeah, that's exactly what I was mentioning. I was saying the division right now. It's
right,
like that whole thing is repeating itself.
right, exactly,
Like they're, it's the men. I mean, women are doing it too now.
right,
That's where it's getting really bad because the women are what they call divesting now, and
right,
they're not. They're saying they don't trust black men. They don't um they don't want to be with black men because black
right,
men, don't have best interests of black women. It's a whole movement going on with the
right,
men and women right now. So yeah, it seems like in that time, and they were talking about that the men had to put their children and their wives away because they had sinned against, and all these bad things were happening. It
right,
seems like that's what's happening right now with the men and the women now. It's like the women have kind of went the other way too. So, normally, you know, black women don't do that, but it's like They're talking about not even having children,
Right.
black men, and they don't want to have black boys. It's
Right.
really crazy right now.
Yeah, it is. And like I was saying before, what a lot of people not really dealing with that, when I talk about it, but I was telling you the technology that they have as far as with the harps and all that and the frequencies. They can put frequencies out over a certain area and have people, a group of people in a certain area or a city, whatever, and make them send suggestions out, subliminal suggestions. And they showed us that when the Iraq War, the first Iraq War, when those guys, the men was coming out, we see how crazy those Arabs is, but all of a sudden they all was getting up out of their fighting positions and walking out with their weapons, just putting the weapons down. That's the reason why that first war went by so fast. They just got up out of their fighting positions, all of them, all these Arabs. It's just put their weapons down, got on their knees, and bowed their head down. And that was that technology. Because there's nothing else explaining. And so they can do the same. They're doing the same thing now because of a lot of the stuff that's happening is unnatural in the numbers the numbers that is going in with it. And they also using television too. Like you can't watch no movie, you can't watch no commercial without an interracial couple on it. Or if it ain't an interracial couple, it's a gay couple. It's a wash with that. That's subliminal too. That's affecting it and hyping it up. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any more questions? Any questions that they want to bring up concerning anything that they came across? Okay.
Hey, well,
Yo.
the great sin. Seemed like Israel, man, when they went after other gods, that was the main thing that triggered the Lord of hosts just putting us out of his sight. Is that the great sin? I mean, I know in the New Testament they try to say it's blaspheming, but it seemed to me going after another god besides him is unforgivable if he don't pull you out of it.
Right. It's we go back to what he said about the Amorites. That's what we picked up. That's the number one thing we picked up. We start worshiping the gods that the Amorites worship, and in the same and not only that, in the manner that they worship him. Like he said, going up in the high places, up in the mountains, and building altars up in the mountains, worshiping these gods. And like you said, yeah, that's the great scene.
Shalom. Also,
Yeah,
not fearing him enough to not do
right,
that.
exactly.
If we feared him enough, it's no way you can do it.
Right, exactly. And that comes in come into play when he says those that tremble at my word. So if you tremble at his word, it means you fear him, and you're gonna submit to whatever he said. It's statutes and his laws. But if you don't fear him, you ain't gonna do that. Right. So you can't get no, like I was saying before, when you rightly divide that, it's the temple that Solomon built and the one that Zerubbabel built was for the Lord of hosts. And so that's where he dwelled at. That means he was in there. So you got people in the temple worshiping another god in his temple. You can't get no more disrespectful than that. It's like Manasseh, he came in there and built a grove inside in the courtyard inside the temple. So
Yeah,
yeah,
our
look at
our ancestors did some wicked stuff, man.
yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. and came in there and tore the gold out to build a place for another god. He took the gold out of the temple of the Lord of hosts to build another. It's crazy. I'm not understanding that one. I mean, and then you seeing him, you're dealing with him, and knowing he there, but you going there with those kind of intentions, and it's crazy. Yeah. Is there something? Anybody else got something? Okay. So with that in mind, right here, is the reason why I decided to go to Joshua 48 is Joseph had left a good example for us on how to conduct ourselves when it comes to the Lord of hosts and with the Most High and the kingdom and heaven and everything. So I'm gonna pick it up. I'm in Joshua chapter 48. The lesson title of the lesson is Joseph and his behavior. Explain. So it says in 48:1, Joshua. In those days, after the death of Isaac, the Lord commanded and caused a famine upon the whole earth. At the time, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, was sitting upon his throne in the land of Egypt, and he lay in his bed and dreamed dreams. And Pharaoh saw in his dream that he was standing by the side of a river of Egypt. And while he was standing, he saw and behold, 7 fat, fleshed, and well-favored kings came up out of the river, and 7 other kings, lean, fleshed, and ill-favored, came up after them, and the 7 ill-favored ones swallowed up the well-favored ones, and still their appearance was ill as at first. And he awoke, and he slept again, and he dreamed the second time, and he saw, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, and rank and good, and 7 thin ears blasted with the east wind sprang up after them, and the thin ears swallowed up the full ones, and the Pharaoh awoke out of his dream. And in the morning the king remembered his dream, and his spirit was sadly troubled on account of his dreams. And the king hastened and sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men, and they came and stood before the Pharaoh. Okay. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed dreams, and there is none to interpret them. And they said unto the king, relate thy dream to thy servant, and let us hear them. And the king related his dream to them, and they all answered and said with one voice to the king, may the king live forever, and this is the interpretation of thy dreams. The 7 good kings which thou hast seen, which thou see, denote 7 daughters that will be born unto thee in the latter days. And the 7 kings which thou sawest come up after them and swallow them up, are for the sign that the daughters which will be born unto thee will all die in the lifetime of the king. And that which thou didst see, the second dream of the 7 full good ears of corn coming up on one stalk, this is their interpretation, that thou wilt build unto thyself in the latter days 7 cities throughout the land of Egypt, and that which thou sawest of the 7 blasted ears of corn springing up after them and swallowing them up, while thou didst behold them with thine eyes, is for the sign that the cities which thou wilt build will be destroyed in the latter days, in the lifetime of the king. And when they spoke these words, the king did not incline his ear to their words, neither did he fix his heart upon them, for the king knew in his wisdom that they did not give a proper interpretation of the dreams. And when they had finished speaking before the king answered them, saying, what is this thing that you have spoken unto me? Surely you have uttered falsehoods and spoken lies. Therefore now give the proper interpretation of my dream that ye may not die. Right? So it's a lot going on with that right there because we in that same situation now as a nation. We got people the Most High ain't called, and they trying to rightly divide these scriptures, trying to rightly divide these prophecies, and they way off. And that's why it's utmost important that the Most High uh, raise up men, like he said, in the latter days, and put his spirit in them, and made rightly divide the scriptures. Because you're gonna be off, way off, like we see a lot of people today because of the people that they connected themselves with. So 10 says, so the Pharaoh, when they told him that, he says his spirit ain't connect with it. They was lying. They didn't know what they was talking about. So 10 says, and that which thou didst see in the second dream of the seventh is full of corn. Okay, I read that. It says, and when they spoke these words to the king, the king did not incline his ear to hear to their words, neither did he fix his heart upon them, for the king knew in his wisdom that they did not give a proper interpretation of the dream. And when they had finished speaking before the king answered them, saying, what is this thing that you have spoken unto me? Surely you have uttered falsehoods and spoken lies. Therefore now give the proper interpretation of my dream, that you may not die. And the king commanded after this, and he sent and called again for other wise men. And they came and stood before the king, and the king related his dream to them, and they all answered him according to the first interpretation. And the king's anger was kindled, and he was very wroth. And the king said unto them, surely ye speak lies and utter falsehoods in what you have said. And the king commanded that the proclamation should be issued throughout the land of Egypt, saying, it is resolved by the king and his great men that any wise man who knoweth the understanding of the interpretation of the dreams and will not come this day before the king shall die. And the man that will declare unto the king the proper interpretation of his dream, there will be given unto him all that he will require from the king. And all the wise men of the land came before the king, together with all the musicians and sorcerers that were in Egypt and in Goshen, in Ramesses and Taxaphon, Zor, and in all the places of on the borders of Egypt, and they all stood before the king. And all the nobles and the princes and their attendants belonging to the king came together from all the cities of Egypt, and they all sat before the king. And the king related his dream before the wise men and the princes, and all that sat before the king were astonished at his vision. And all the wise men who were before the king were greatly divided in their interpretation of his dream. Some of them interpreted them to the king, saying, the seven good king or seven kings, who from the king's issue will be raised over Israel, and the seven bad king or seven princes who will stand up against them in the latter days and destroy them, and the 7 years of corn or seven great princes belonging to Egypt, who will fall in the hands of 7 less powerful princes of their enemies in the wars of our Lord the King. And some of them interpreted to the king in this manner, saying, the 7 good kings are strong cities of Egypt, and the 7 bad kings are the 7 nations of the land of Canaan, who will come again against the 7 cities of Egypt in the latter days and destroy them. And so, like I said before, we see right here with this foolishness, we see the same thing today. And people trying to rightly divide the Most High Word with Daniel and Jeremiah and all those books. They got it all over. They all over the place. They don't have a clue. So 19 says, and that which thou sawest in the second dream of the second good and bad ears are of the 7 good and bad ears of corn is a sign that the government of Egypt will again return to thy seed as at first. And in his reign, the people of the cities of Egypt will turn against the 7 cities of Canaan, who were stronger than they are, and will destroy them, and the government of Egypt will return to thy seed. And some of them said unto the king, This is interpretation of the dream. The 7 good kings or 7 queens, whom thou wilt take for wives in the latter days, and the 7 bad kings denote that 7 women will all die in the lifetime of the king. And the 7 good and bad ears of corn which thou didst see in the second dream are 14 children. Come on. And it will be in the latter days that they will stand up and fight amongst themselves, and 7 of them will smite the 7 that are more powerful. And some of them said these words unto the king, saying, the 7 good kings to know that 7 children will be born unto thee, and they will slay 7 of the children in the latter days, and the 7 good ears of corn which thou didst see in the fight in the second dream are the princes against whom 7 other less powerful princes will fight and destroy them in the latter days, and avenge thy children's cause, and the government will again return to thy seed. And the king heard all these words of the wise men of Egypt, and their interpretation of this dream, and none of them pleased the king. And the king knew in his wisdom that they did not altogether speak correctly in all these words, for this was from the Lord, to frustrate the words of the wise men of Egypt, in order that Joseph might go forth from the house of confinement, and in order that he should become great in Egypt. And the king saw that none amongst all the wise men and musicians of Egypt spoke correctly to him. And the king's wrath was kindled, and his anger burned within him. And the king commanded that all the wise men of Egypt and musicians should go out from before him, and they all went out from before the king, with shame and disgrace. And the king commanded that the proclamation be sent throughout Egypt to slay all the musicians that were in Egypt, and not one of them should be suffered to live. And the captains of the guard belonging to the king rose up, and each man drew his sword, and they began to smite the musicians of Egypt and the wise men. And after this, Mirah, chief butler of the king, came and bowed himself before the king and sat before him. And the butler said unto the king, may the king live forever, and his government be exalted in the land. Thou wast angry with thy servant in those days. Now 2 years passed, and did place me in a ward, and I was for some time in a ward, I and the chief of the bakers. And there was with us a Hebrew servant, belonging to the captain of the guard. His name was Joseph, for his master had been angry with him and placed him in the house of confinement, and he attended us there. And some time after, when we were in the ward, we dreamed dreams in one night, I and the chief of the bakers. We dreamed, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And we came in the morning and told them that to that servant, and he interpreted us our dreams. To each man according to his dream did he correctly interpret. Right? It says, and it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so was the event. There fell not to the ground any of his words. We'll read that again. It says, and it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so was the event. There fell not to the ground any of his words. So everything Joseph said was on point. 37. And now, therefore, my Lord and King, do not slay the people of Egypt for naught. Behold, that slave is still confined in the house by the captain of the guard, his master, in the house of confinement. If it please the king, let him send for him, that he may come before thee, and he will make known to thee the correct interpretation of the dream which thou didst dream. And the king heard the words of the chief butler, and the king ordered that the wise men of Egypt should not be slain. And the king ordered his servants to bring Joseph before him. And the king said unto him, go to him, and do not terrify him, lest he be confused and will not know to speak properly. And the servants of the kings went to Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And the king's servants shaved him, and he changed his prison garment, and he came before the king. And the king was sitting upon his royal throne in a princely dress girded around with a golden ephod, and the fine gold which was upon it sparkled, and the carbuncle, and the ruby, and the emerald, together with all the precious stones that were upon the king's head, dazzled the eye. And Joseph wondered greatly at the king. And the throne upon which the king sat was covered with gold and silver, and with onyx stones, and it had 70 steps. And it was their custom through the land of Egypt that every man who came to speak to the king, if he was a prince or one that was estimated in the sight of the king, he ascended to the king's throne as far as 30 as the 31st step, and the king would ascend to the 36th step and speak with him. So I want to shine a light on something right here. It's like confirmation. So we know in Genesis chapter, at the Tower of Babel, Most High divided the earth up with 70 angels. Right? So we see right here, it says that, and then we know 70 languages. So he said, 42. King was sitting upon his royal throne in a priestly dress, girded around about with a golden ephod and fine gold which was upon the sparkle, and the carbuncle and the rubies and the emeralds, together with the precious stones that were upon the king's head, down to the eye. And Joseph wondered greatly at the king. And the throne upon which the king sat was covered with gold and silver, and with onyx stones, and then 70 steps. Yeah, 70 steps. So that's the 70 different languages, which is a confirmation that the earth was divided up into by the Lord of hosts, by Yahweh, with these 7 different languages, which is coming from these 70 angels, which are shepherds. Right? It says in 45, if he was one of the common people, he ascended to the 3rd step, and the king would descend to the 4th and speak unto him. And their custom was, moreover, that any man who understood to speak in the 70 languages, he ascended the 70 steps and went up and spoke till he reached the king. And all men who could not complete the 70, he ascended as many steps as the languages which he knew to speak in. And it was customary in those days in Egypt that no one should reign over them but who understood speech in the 70 languages. And when Joseph came before the king, he bowed down to the ground before the king, and he ascended to the 3rd step. And the king sat upon the 4th step and spoke with Joseph. And the king said unto Joseph, I dreamed a dream, and there is no interpretation to interpret it properly. And I commanded this day that all the musicians of Egypt and that the wise men thereof should come before me. And I related my dream to them, and no one had properly interpreted them to me. And after this, I this day heard concerning thee that thou art a wise man, and can correctly interpret every dream that thou heard. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, let Pharaoh relate his dream that he dreamed. Surely interpretation belongs to God. And Pharaoh related his dream to Joseph, and the dream of the king, and the dream of the ears of corn, and the king left off speaking. Okay. It says 52. And Joseph was then clothed with the Spirit of God before the king, and he knew all the things that would befall the king from that day forward, and he knew the proper interpretation of the king's dream, and he spoke before the king. And Joseph found favor in the sight of the king, and the king inclined his ears and his heart, and he heard all the words of Joseph. And Joseph said, okay, Joseph said unto the king, do not imagine that there are 2 dreams, for it is only one dream. For that which God has chosen to do throughout the land, he has shown to the king in his dream, and this is the proper interpretation of thy dream. The 7 good kings and the ears of corn are 7 years, and the 7 bad kings and the 7 ears of corn are also 7 years. It is one dream. Behold, the 7 years that are coming, there will be a great plenty throughout all the land. And after that, 7 years of famine will follow them, a very grievous famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten from the land, and the famine will consume the inhabitants of the land. And the king dreamed one dream, and the dream was therefore repeated upon Pharaoh, because the thing is established by God, and God will surely bring it to pass. Now, therefore, I will give thee counsel, and deliver thy soul and the souls of the inhabitants of the land from the evil of the famine that thou seek throughout all the kingdom, for a man very discreet and wise, who knoweth all the affairs of the government, and appoint him to superintend over the land of Egypt. So let's look at that. I was telling you about Joseph's behavior, right? And we was listening to my man Ron Dowden talking about, and the other brother coming together, you know, and getting on one accord. So if you notice over here, Joseph been in the dungeon. The baker told him 2 years earlier, you know, that Joseph had, they had been thrown in prison, and they came across Joseph. And the Most High calls him a dream. He said Joseph properly interpreted it. And he said everything he told him came down the pipe. And so Joseph been in prison all this time. Now I want you to, we're going to read this again, but I want you to look at Joseph's countenance. Okay? We're going to read it again. Remember he been in prison, right? And they did all the stuff happened with Potiphar's wife. How he lied on him and everything. So he been in prison. So it says, Joseph found favor in the sight of the king, and the king inclined his ears and his heart, and he heard all the words of Joseph, right? And Joseph said, look at this. And Joseph said unto the king, do not imagine that they are two dreams. Okay? First of all, who talk like that? That's what I keep on trying to convey to everybody on here, you know, about how the Israelites are. They, you know, they want you to think that we was, you know, that the people have no idea how wise they were. So it says, do not imagine that there are two dreams, or there's only one dream. So he ain't talking like the rest of them. For that which God has chosen to do throughout the land, he has shown the king in his dream. And this is the proper interpretation of thy dream. The 7 good kings of ears of corn are 7 years, and the 7 bad kings are 7 ears of corn, also 7 years. It is one dream. Behold, 7 years that are coming, there will be a great plenty throughout the land. And after that, the 7 years of famine will follow them, a very grievous famine, and all the plenty will be forgotten from the land, and the famine will consume the inhabitants of the land. The king dreamed one dream, and the dream was therefore repeated unto the Pharaoh, because this thing is established by God, and God will surely bring it to pass. He can talk like this because this is how he talking to the angels. The angels talking to him. Go back and look at all the conversations. So the king ain't nothing but a poop butt. He been talking to angels. So watch this. 57. Now therefore I will give thee counsel. See that? See that? Now he just like I told you, they charging Lord of Hosts. Now he charging him. He been locked up 14 years. Now therefore I will give thee counsel and deliver thy soul. See that? Joseph over him. He ain't over Joseph. Say, now therefore I will give thee counsel and deliver thy soul. And the souls of the inhabitants, he over all of them. See that? And that's the way he talking. And thy souls of the inhabitants of the land from the evil of the famine that thou seekest, that thou seek throughout thy kingdom. For a man very discreet and wise, who knoweth all the affairs of the government, and appoint him superintendent over the land of Egypt. And let the man whom thou placest over Egypt appoint officers under him, that they gather in the food of the good years that are coming, and let them lay up corn and deposit it in the appointed stores, and let them keep that food for the 7 years of famine, that it may be found for thee and thy people, and thy whole land, and that thou and thy land be cut off by the famine. Let all the inhabitants of the land be also ordered that they gather in every man the produce of his field of all sorts of food during the 7 good years, and that they place it in their stores, that it may be found for them in the days of famine, and that they may live upon it. This is the proper interpretation of thy dream, and this is the counsel given to save thy soul and the souls of thy subjects. And the king answered and said unto Joseph, who said, and who knoweth that thy words are correct? And he said unto the king, this shall be a sign for thee, uh, respecting all of my words, that they be true, and that my advice is good for thee. Behold, thy wife sitteth this day upon a stool of delivery, and she will bear thee a son, and thou wilt rejoice with him. And when thy child shall have gone forth from thee, his mother's womb, thy firstborn son that has been born these 2 years back shall die, and thou will be comforted in the child that will be born unto thee this day. And Joseph finished speaking these words to the king, and he bowed down to the king, and he went out. And when Joseph had gone out from the king's presence, those signs that Joseph had spoken unto the king came to pass on that day. And the queen bore a son on that day, and the king heard the glad tidings about his son, and he rejoiced. And when the reporter had gone forth from the king's presence, the king's servants found the firstborn son of the king fallen dead upon the ground. And there was a great lamentation and noise in the king's house. And the king heard it, and he said, what is the noise and the lamentation that I have heard in his house? And they told the king that his firstborn son had died. Said, then the king knew all the Joseph's words that he had spoken were correct, and the king was consoled for his son by the child that was born to him on that day, and Joseph had spoken. So what I want to show you right here, what's missing out of that, is this right here. I'm in Numbers, right quick. I'm in Numbers, dealing with Balaam. I'm in chapter 23 of Balaam. Sorry about that, Numbers. Chapter 23 of Numbers. And what's going on is King of Moab, Balak, he wants to get Balaam as a so-called seer or prophet, and he wants the king, just like the Pharaoh wanted Joseph to interpret a dream for him. This guy wants Balaam to put a curse on Israel. Israel coming out of Egypt, they passing by, and they on this mountain top, and they looking down, and he wants Balaam to curse Israel, but the Lord of hosts standing there with him, standing there with Balaam. So I'm gonna pick it up at 23 and 1. Balaam said unto Balak, build me here, check it out, 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. So we already know who we're dealing with right here. These 7 altars and 7 oxen and 7 rams. That's 7 angels. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak, stand by thy burnt offerings, and I will go. Peradventure the Lord will come. See that? You know he's gonna come. And the Lord will come, Lord of hosts will come and meet me. And whatsoever he showeth me, I will tell thee. And he went to a high place. And God met Balaam. See that? The Lord of hosts met Balaam. And he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars, and I have altered upon the altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth and said, return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak. See that? Go back to what Joseph did. I told you how he was talking. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth. Remember that. So we're going to go on down. And I'm at 9. And from the tops of the rocks I see. So we want some cursing, right? But the Lord host standing there. He entered. He says he put a word in his mouth, so he entered into Balaam, right? So let's look at it. From the top of the rocks I see, and from the hills, behold, lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of the Jacob, and the number of the four part of Israel? Let me die the death of righteous, and let my last end be like his. And Balak said unto Balaam, what hast thou done unto me? I took thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast blessed them. So he blessing them because this goes on and on. He blessing them because the Lord of hosts entered into him. It ain't Balaam talking. He entered into him, and he talking. So let's look here again. Let's look at it. So now I'm on chapter 24. Show you what I'm talking about. Verse 10. It says, verse 11. Therefore now flee thou to thy place. I thought to promote thee unto a great honor, but lo, the Lord have kept thee back from honor. See that? So Balaam wants to tell him what he wants to hear, but the Lord of hosts keep entering in him and causing them to prophesy and give them a good blessing. So Balaam reward is he gonna give him riches and honor. So Balaam want to give him what he wants, but he can't. Lord of hosts keep entering into him and speaking through him. So 12. Balaam said unto the Balak, speak I not also to thy messenger which thou sendest unto me, saying, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandments of the Lord. See that? I cannot go beyond the commandments of the Lord to do either good or bad with mine own mind, but what the Lord said, that will I speak. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. Now here you go right here. And he took up his power, his Balaam, and said, Balaam the son of Beor said, and the man whose eyes were open, he hath said, which heard the words of God, knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw in a vision the Almighty, falling into a trance. See, he fallen into a trance because the Lord also entered into him. He in a trance, he took over, but having his eyes open, so he wide open, but the Lord host there. And then he says, I shall see him, but not now, and I shall behold him, but not nay. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall arise out of Israel, smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. So this is the exact same thing what happened with Joseph. The Most High the Lord of hosts entered into him. That's why he's talking to Pharaoh the way he is. He in there. And that's what happened to all the prophets in Israel. When they go to the gate, he told Jeremiah, go to the gate. When he got to the gate, he entered into them and speaking to the people, telling them what he wanted them to hear. And so we see the same thing happen right here. That's the reason why, you see the authority and he start charging the Pharaoh because it ain't him. It's the Lord of hosts in him, talking through him. Okay? Any comments?
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. And that's happening all through the scriptures. It ain't registering with us because of,
Right.
this is going on. He in them. He in them. Just like in the fire, in the furnace.
Yeah, and them like them magicians, and man, we surrounded by all that kind of mess. These false prophets,
Right,
you know.
exactly. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
And then here comes Joseph with the true word.
Right. Right. And you notice how he told him at the end, you want to know if I'm speaking the truth? Then he prophesied to him. So let's look at that right quick. So make this plain. So when he asked him, how do I know what you're saying is true? He turned around and told him, you're a son One of your oldest son gonna die, but at the same time, your wife gonna have a newborn. So let's look at that. Get the answer. We're gonna get the answer on who talking. I'm in Daniel, chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, I'm in verse 20. 10 and 20 says, then this Gabriel talking to Daniel. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee, and now I will return and fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Greece shall come. Then 21, but I, Gabriel, will show thee that which is noted in the scriptures of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things but Michael, your prince. So we said they're looking on a book of life, and ain't nobody else can do look on it but him and Michael. So Pharaoh just asked him, I'ma know. I know you telling me the truth. Then he turned around and told him, your oldest son finna die, and then your wife gonna have a newborn, and it's gonna be bittersweet. That's what he just told us right here. Ain't nobody but Michael the one looking on the book, right?
Yeah.
Joseph ain't looking on the book. So ain't Joseph talking. He entered into him. So let's look at that right here. I'm in Ezekiel. I'm thinking I'm in Ezekiel. Let me see. Let me go down real quick. Maybe in there. Let me see real quick. So 18 says, Daniel 8 and 18 is when Gabriel came to Daniel. He says, now, as he was speaking with me, well, first of all, Michael commanded Gabriel, say, go and make this man. See that? Make this man understand. So how you going to make him understand? You're going to enter into him. It says 18. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright, and he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation, for the time appointed, the end shall be. See that? So in order for to make him understand, you got to enter into him. Just like the Pharaoh. The whole thing about the dreams was that for Joseph to be raised up, second in command. So Lord host entered into the Pharaoh. Well, Gabriel, one of them entered into the Pharaoh and made him have a dream. You see that?
Right.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what's going on. So when the prophet come out there and prophesy, they ain't looking on the book, and they ain't looking on the book up in heaven. Gabriel just told us it's him and Lord host. So when they come and prophesy, he's speaking to him. He's speaking to them through them. And then not only that, he tells us through he said the knowledge. My knowledge is at the mouth, at the lips of the priests, the lips of the Levites. That's because he operating through them. Wisdom is at the mouth of the priest. Ain't that something?
Yes, it is.
Man, it's powerful.
Right. Right. So that's why we in a pickle now. He ain't around. He ain't doing none of this stuff. And then people saying why we can't come together. It's a point of time for us to come together.
Yeah, we
Ain't
got
gonna
a
happen.
lot of false prophets among us.
Oh, yeah, exactly, right. We seen all the garbage these clowns was doing to the Pharaoh, what they were telling him. Yeah. He had enough sense to see what they know what they were talking about. Yeah. Ain't that something? Okay. Anybody got anything else before we go? Before we close out? Okay. Let me hit this right quick.